My wife believed her best friend's lie that I cheated and left me. When the truth came out, it was too late to save the trust. I'm 35 and recently finalized my divorce from my wife, Claire. We were together for 6 years and married for 2. Looking back, I think I should have seen this train crash coming. Honestly, the warning signs were there from the beginning, but I ignored them because, well, I loved her, or so I thought. Vanessa, Claire's best friend, was the label given to the flaws in our relationship. Have you ever met someone and immediately realized they had bad news? That was Vanessa. She was loud, self-centered, and constantly wanted to be the focus of attention. From the moment I met her, I felt like she was sizing me up, looking for something to use against me, but Claire couldn't see it. She saw Vanessa as her college ride or die, someone who had been there through it all. I thought, fine, I'll tolerate her because she's important to Claire. But Vanessa understood how to push buttons. During our wedding planning, things began to go wrong quickly. I proposed to Claire after 3 years of dating. We were already living together at the time, so it felt like a natural progression. She was ecstatic, as was I at first. Then Vanessa poked her nose in. It started little. She disliked our color palette, describing it as very plain. I let it go because nobody cares what colors we choose. Then she complained about the food, claiming that we needed vegan alternatives because half of the visitors would likely prefer them. There may have been 2 vegetarians in total, and then she insisted on walking down the aisle first ahead of the bridesmaids. Yeah, you read that correctly. Vanessa wanted to do her own stroll down the aisle. Her argument was this: I've been there through every one of Claire's breakups, every hard moment in her life. This day is about celebrating the people who stood by her, not just the marriage. I assumed it was a prank at first. Who truly asks for that? But Claire merely nodded along. I could watch her cave in real time. I attempted to step in. I advised Claire, look, this is our wedding, not a stage for Vanessa to perform on. Your sister's already your maid of honor, and that's enough. Claire became defensive, claiming I was making a huge deal out of nothing. Meanwhile, Vanessa acted as if I had insulted her entire existence. Wow, she replied. I didn't realize your fiancé was so controlling. That hurt. But instead of standing up for me, Claire folded. It's just one little thing, she explained afterward. If it makes her happy, what's the harm? So Vanessa had her grand entrance. She walked down the aisle as if it were her wedding. I could feel my parents' sideways glances from the front row, but I just gritted my teeth and smiled for the photos. I assumed that once we were married, this kind of nonsense would stop. Vanessa will have less say in our lives. A big mistake. Huge. Vanessa did not, as I had intended, fade into the background following the wedding. If anything, Mom grew more invested in our lives. Claire and I would be talking about our weekend plans, and Vanessa's name would come up like clockwork. Oh, I already told Vanessa she could join us, Claire would add. Or as another example, Vanessa thinks we should check out this restaurant instead. It was as if we couldn't make any decisions without her opinion. I attempted to bring it up gently with Claire at first. I replied, I like that you have a close friend, but I feel like Vanessa's a little too involved in our lives. Can we set some boundaries? Claire became defensive again. She's my best friend, she explained. I can't just shut her out. You don't understand how much she's done for me. Perhaps I did not understand. I wasn't present during the college years, breakups or whatever. But I did realize that Vanessa didn't respect me or our marriage, and Claire was too preoccupied with their friendship to notice it. I hoped Vanessa wasn't trying to undercut me on purpose. Perhaps she was one of those folks who couldn't take a step back. But deep inside, I believe I knew better. Vanessa did not like me, plain and simple. And the more she injected herself into our life, the clearer it became. I'm not sure why I didn't put my foot down earlier. Maybe I thought it wasn't worth fighting. Perhaps I didn't want to risk driving Claire away, but that was my error. By remaining silent, I allowed Vanessa to believe she had the right to intervene in our marriage. It was too late for me to realize how deep her claws went. After about a year of marriage, Claire and I had finally settled into a pattern. Work, dating nights, weekend binge watching of TV shows. Things were not perfect, but they were good. Peaceful even. That was until Vanessa walked up at our door, sobbing as if her entire world had fallen apart. It was Friday evening. Claire and I were going to make tacos and maybe watch a movie. I was about halfway through chopping onions when the doorbell rang. Claire went to retrieve it and I could hear Vanessa screaming in the next several seconds. I looked around the corner, and there she was, clinging on Claire like a shipwreck survivor. She wore a duffel bag over her shoulder and had mascara streaming down her face. He left me. Vanessa sobbed. I can't do this alone. Claire brought her inside, giving me a look that said, "Well, talk later." I stood there, knife in hand, feeling as if I had fallen into a nightmare. Vanessa flopped down on our couch, babbling about how her 2-year boyfriend had dumped her unexpectedly. Claire sat next to her, holding her hand, and nodded sympathetically. I remained in the kitchen, trying to focus on the tacos. But when Vanessa continued her theatrical tale, I couldn't help but overhear. Apparently, her boyfriend Tyler had completely surprised her by breaking up with her via text, since he felt they were not compatible. Vanessa, of course, argued that she had been the ideal girlfriend, and Tyler was simply an emotionally unavailable jerk. "Do you have anywhere to stay tonight?" Claire inquired gently. Vanessa sniffled and looked at me in the kitchen before saying, "No, I can't go home to my parents. They'll just say, 'I told you so,' and all my other friends are busy." I didn't know where else to go. I could see where this was going, and I was not pleased with it. Sure enough, Claire turned to me. "Would it be okay if Vanessa stayed here for a few days, just until she gets back on her feet?" What was I supposed to say? "No, your best buddy cannot stay here, despite the fact that she is obviously a wreck." So, I nodded and forced a smile. "Yeah, of course." At first, I tried to remain patient. Vanessa felt heartbroken. I got it. Breakups are the worst. For the first few days, I stayed out of her way and let Claire handle her. However, by the end of the week, it was evident that a few days would stretch into who knows how long. Vanessa wasn't simply staying with us, she was taking over. Claire and I had carefully kept the guest room nice and organized, but it had now become a catastrophe zone. Clothes were everywhere, on the floor, on the bed, and strewn over the chair. Empty coffee mugs and takeaway cartons accumulated on the bedside. It resembled a teenager's room after a horrible breakup, only Vanessa was 34. She essentially lived in the living room, binge-watching reality shows at maximum volume and occupying the couch. I got home from work twice and found her spread out in her pajamas, eating snacks from a family-sized chip bag while watching a dating show. She didn't even look up when I went in. She just murmured, "Hey," between bites. The kitchen was not safe either. Vanessa wasn't a great cook, but that didn't stop her from using our pots and pans as if she were auditioning for a cooking show. The trouble was that she never picked up after herself. I'd wake up in the morning to find the sink full of dirty dishes and weird half-eaten dinners on the counter. I tried talking about it with Claire one night. "I know Vanessa's going through a lot," I told her. "But she's treating this place like a hotel. It's not fair to us." Claire seemed torn. "I know it's frustrating, but she doesn't have anywhere else to go. She just needs a little more time." "A little more time," I said. "It's been 2 weeks. How much longer are we supposed to put up with this?" Claire paused. "I'll talk to her." However, her actions were ineffective. Vanessa altered the script, portraying herself as the victim. "I'm sorry if my presence is such a burden," she remarked dramatically, her eyes welling up with tears. "I'll leave if that's what you want." Claire, of course, hastened to comfort her. No, it's not like that. We just want to make sure you're okay." It was infuriating. Vanessa knew how to influence Claire, and she fell for it every time. The final straw came roughly a month in. One Saturday morning, I walked into the backyard to gather some equipment for a DIY project I was working on. To my amazement, I discovered my power drill, saw, and other tools spread about the patio. Vanessa was seated on the grass painting a pile of strange wooden fragments in brilliant neon colors. "What's this?" I inquired, pointing to the mess. She looked up unperturbed. "Oh, it's for my therapy." "My counselor suggested doing something creative to process my emotions." I blinked at her. "You went through my tools without asking." She shrugged. "I didn't think you'd mind." I was done. I stepped back inside and saw Claire in the kitchen. "She has to go," I stated firmly. "I'm not asking anymore." Claire looked at me, astonished by my tone. What happened? "She's treating this house like her personal playground." "I'm done with it, Claire. I've been patient, but this isn't working. She needs to leave." Claire moaned and rubbed her temples. "Okay, I'll talk to her again." This time I did not leave it up to Claire. I sat down with each of them and lay everything out. "Vanessa, we've done our best to support you through this, but it's been a month. This isn't sustainable for us. You need to start looking for another place to stay." Vanessa did not take it well. She accused me of being cruel and not knowing what she was going through. "You're kicking me out when I'm at my lowest," she continued, staring at me. "Wow, what a great friend you are." I didn't let her remorse get to me. I'm not kicking you out today, but you need to find somewhere else. We've given you plenty of time. Claire appeared torn, but for once she did not agree with Vanessa. Vanessa left within a week. She stormed off in a fury, mumbling something about how I had always been domineering and Claire deserved more. As she drove away, I felt a weight lifted from my shoulders. For the first time in weeks, our home felt like our own again. Even yet, I knew this wouldn't be the last we heard from Vanessa. The actual Vanessa damage occurred on a random Saturday afternoon. Claire had gone out for her regular brunch with Vanessa. I wasn't delighted with it, but I had ceased commenting on their gatherings months before. What was the point? Vanessa was going to be in Claire's life regardless of what I said. I stayed at home, planning to use the quiet time to run errands. Nothing exciting, just shopping, laundry, and a little yard work. By the time Claire returned, I was in the kitchen unloading groceries. I welcomed her like I normally did, but something seemed off. She barely said anything, mumbling a hey and heading directly to the bedroom. I stood there for a second, clutching a bag of apples, trying to figure out what I'd done to irritate her. Maybe she was simply tired. I shrugged it off and returned to putting things away. Claire remained distant throughout the rest of the day. She avoided eye contact, responded to my questions with one-word answers, and spent the majority of her time glued to her phone. I asked her several times if something was wrong, but she simply said, "I'm fine." Clearly, she wasn't. I assumed Vanessa had unloaded some of her typical drama, and Claire simply wanted time to process. That night, however, things became odd. After supper, she hardly touched her dish before retiring early. When I arrived later, she was curled up on the far edge of the bed, appearing to be asleep. I lay there staring at the ceiling, unsure what was going on. The next morning, I resolved to pursue the matter. "Claire, seriously, what's going on? You've been acting weird since you got back from brunch." She paused for a time, not looking at me before saying, "I need to ask you something, and you must be honest." "Okay," I replied, feeling a knot form in my stomach. "What is it?" She eventually turned to face me, her expression a mix of rage and hurt. "Were you with someone else yesterday?" I blinked at her, absolutely disoriented. "What? Number? What are you talking about?" Her voice became sharper. "Vanessa said she saw you in a parking lot. She said you were in your car making out with some woman." For a split second, I had no idea how to respond. I almost laughed because it was so unexpected. But when I saw Claire's serious expression, my surprise turned to frustration. "Claire, that's ridiculous. I wasn't with anyone. I was grocery shopping. She described your car," Claire said abruptly. "She said you were wearing your brown jacket. She even knew the parking lot by that little strip mall near Main Street." I felt as if I was having a dreadful dream. "Yeah, because I was at that strip mall. That's where the grocery store is. I wasn't making out with anyone. I was buying milk and bread." Claire crossed her arms and glared at me. "Then why would Vanessa say she saw you?" That question irritated me more than anything. Not "are you certain she's mistaken" or "is there a mix-up?" Nope, just why would she lie? Vanessa's lying seemed preposterous. "I don't know, Claire," I responded, my voice rising. "Why don't you ask her?" "Because I didn't do anything wrong." But she wasn't listening. "I don't know what to believe," she said quietly, shaking her head. "Vanessa wouldn't lie about something like this." That hit me like a punch in the chest. She wasn't sure what to believe. After everything we'd gone through, she couldn't trust me over Vanessa. I rose up and paced the room. "You've known me for 6 years. Do you really think I'd cheat on you, and in a parking lot of all places? Does that even sound like me?" Claire didn't respond. She simply sat there staring at her hands. "I need time to think," she finally murmured, her voice barely audible. The following several days were horrible. Claire scarcely spoke with me. She moved into the guest room, claiming she wanted space. Every time I tried to bring up the topic, she cut me off. "I'm not ready to talk," she would reply. Or it might be, "I need more time." Meanwhile, I was roaming around in a fog of rage and disbelief. I could not quit thinking about Vanessa. This was exactly the type of turmoil she thrived in. However, I couldn't see why. Why go to such extremes? Why lie about something so important? Did she truly dislike me so much? At the same time, I couldn't overlook the larger issue: Claire's reaction. The fact that she did not even give me the benefit of the doubt revealed more about our marriage than Vanessa's falsehoods ever could. What did it imply for us if she believed Vanessa over me? Claire left a week later, having packed her stuff. She didn't even tell me where she was going. She simply stated she needed time to think things through. I didn't fight her over it. At that moment, I was too tired to fight. The following morning, I received a text from her. I think it's best if we separate for now. I'll have my lawyer send over the paperwork. That was it. There was no discussion or attempt to resolve the situation, only a text and a lawyer. It seemed as if our entire marriage had been thrown away because of one foolish anecdote. I had no idea how to process it. One part of me wanted to fight to establish my innocence and make Claire understand, but another part of me was finished. If she was willing to throw everything away so quickly, I might not want to repair our marriage. After all, things worsened during the next few weeks. Our breakup became public, and Vanessa made certain that everyone was aware of her version of events. Mutual friends began acting strangely around me, avoiding eye contact and making cryptic remarks about working on myself. Even my own relatives began to ask unpleasant questions such, "Is there any truth to what they're saying?" It felt like I was living in a nightmare. Everywhere I turned, I was reminded of how fast people may turn against you. Claire remained silent during it all. There were no calls, texts, or attempts to reach out, only radio silence. At first, I was furious, more so than I had ever been in my life. But as the days turned into weeks, the rage subsided. It was replaced with something colder and harsher. If Claire didn't trust me enough to have a talk, perhaps I didn't need her in my life. I wasn't about to ask someone who didn't believe in me. Allow her time to think. Let her remain under Vanessa's thumb. I had had enough of struggling for a marriage in which I was always second to her so-called best friend. If this is how things were going to end, so be it. 2 months after Claire left on a Thursday evening, something unexpected occurred. I was minding my own business, scrolling through my phone while eating supper, when I received a text from an unfamiliar number. It began with, "Hi, this is Sophie. I know Vanessa lied about you. Can we talk?" I looked at the computer for a bit, trying to figure out who the hell Sophie was. The name rang a faint ring, something about the party that Vanessa and Claire dragged me to a few years back. But why is she messaging me now? My immediate inclination was to disregard it, but something about the way she put it. "I know Vanessa lied about you piqued my interest." I responded, "What do you mean?" "What lie?" Her reaction came almost immediately. "About the cheating, Vanessa admitted she made it up. I believe you should see the proof." The next day, Sophie and I met at a little coffee shop downtown. When I arrived, she was already sitting at a table near the window, fidgeting with her phone. I sat across from her, feeling a mixture of curiosity and horror. "Thanks for meeting me," she replied uncomfortably. "I wasn't sure if you'd even want to talk." "Yeah, well, here I am," I replied. "What's this about Vanessa lying?" She took out her phone and initiated a text exchange. "I've been friends with Vanessa for a long time, but after this, I can't keep quiet anymore. You need to know what really happened." She handed me the phone and I began reading. The messages between her and Vanessa were stunning of Vanessa. "OMG, Claire has finally left him. She really believed me. Lol. Poor for Sophie. What exactly are you talking about?" I told her I saw him making out with a rando in his car. You should have seen her face. Priceless. "Sophie, please wait. Are you serious?" "Why would you do that, Vanessa?" "Because he's a controlling jerk and she's too stupid to realize it. I had to help her." I continued scrolling, my hands quivering with rage. Things got worse. "Vanessa, it wasn't like their marriage would last anyway. Claire is so gullible that she will believe whatever I tell her. Please, Sophie, this is messed up. Vanessa, whatever. She is better off without him, and I won't have to hear about her lovely marriage anymore." Gag. I couldn't read any farther. I returned the phone to Sophie, my jaw clenched so hard it hurt. "She really said that?" I inquired, my voice barely above a whisper. Sophie nodded, visibly distressed. "Yeah." She bragged about it like it was some kind of accomplishment. I didn't believe it at first, but when she started mocking Claire for being too naive, I realized how twisted it was. I sat there trying to process what I had just seen. Vanessa didn't just lie. She intentionally ruined my marriage, making fun of Claire in the process. She had twisted her best buddy out of pure entitlement and hatred. "Why are you telling me this now?" I inquired finally. "Why not earlier?" Sophie stared down at her coffee. "I don't know. I guess I was scared. Vanessa can be intense, but I couldn't keep quiet anymore. It's not fair to you, and it's not fair to Claire." I captured screenshots of the messages and praised Sophie for coming forward. On the journey home, I couldn't stop thinking about the talk. I wasn't simply angry, I was infuriated. I'm furious at Vanessa for being such a manipulative, entitled piece of work. Claire is furious with herself for falling for it so quickly, and I'm upset with myself for allowing Vanessa to get away with it for so long. But more than anything, I felt validated. For months, I'd been walking around with a cloud over my head, wondering what I could have done better. Now, I could prove that none of this was my fault. Vanessa had set me up from the beginning, and Claire had played right into her hands. By the time I came home, my rage had subsided into something colder. I was not going to strike out or accuse anyone. No, I was going to do it the right way. First, I sent the screenshots to my lawyer with a brief note. This is what really happened. Let me know how we can use it. I sat down and gazed at my phone, unsure whether to text Claire. Part of me did not want to. What was the point? She had previously demonstrated where her devotion lay, but another part of me believed she deserved to know the truth, even if it didn't alter anything. After a few minutes, I typed a message. We should talk. It's important. Her response was quicker than I expected. What do you want? I kept it short. I have evidence that Vanessa lied. Can we meet? You should see this. There was a long gap before she said fine, tomorrow afternoon. Where? I recommended a park near her new residence. She agreed and that was all. I did not wish to win her back. I was no longer interested in that, but I needed her to know the truth, if only to cleanse my name. Part of me wanted to just toss the screenshots at Claire and let her deal with it. But I knew I needed to maintain my composure. I didn't want her to think I was overly dramatic or upset about this. When Claire finally came, she appeared reluctant and nervous. She was wearing her typical casual outfit, a hoodie and jeans, but she lacked the confidence she used to have. She saw me and gave me a tiny wave before walking over. What's this about? She said, her arms folded defensively. I did not waste any time. I got out my phone, opened the screenshots Sophie had provided me, and handed them to her. Read this, I stated plainly. Claire glanced at me puzzled, then accepted the phone and began scrolling. Initially, her expression was neutral, but as she read, her expression shifted. Her eyes widened, her mouth dropped open, and she was pale by the time she heard the final message. She returned the phone to me with shaky hands. She lied, she said quietly, almost to herself. Yeah, I replied, attempting to keep my voice calm. She lied about everything. She made up the story about me cheating just to break us up, and apparently she thought it was hilarious. Claire sat down on the bench next to me and stared at the ground. I didn't know, she replied gently. I didn't think she'd ever. You didn't think she'd ever lie to you? I inquired, my tone harder than I intended. That's the problem, Claire. You didn't think. You didn't even stop to question it. You just believed her and threw me under the bus. She flinched at my remarks but said nothing. Do you know how humiliating it's been? I asked. My friends, my family, hell, even my coworkers started looking at me like I was some kind of dirtbag. All because you couldn't take 2 seconds to ask me what really happened. Tears began to fill up in her eyes. I thought I was doing the right thing, she replied. Vanessa's been my best friend for years. I trusted her. Yeah, well, that trust just cost you your marriage, I replied honestly. Claire glanced up at me, tears running down her cheeks. I'm very sorry, she murmured, her voice cracking. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. That's the problem, Claire. I explained, my tone softening but still stern. You didn't know because you didn't even give me a chance. You trusted her more than you trusted me. And that says a lot about how you saw this relationship. We sat quietly for a few minutes, the weight of everything hanging in the air. Finally, Claire spoke again. I'll cut her off, she replied gently. I'll never talk to her again. We can fix this. We can go to counseling, figure things out. I'll do whatever it takes. I groaned and ran a hand over my hair. Part of me wanted to trust her, but the reality was that the harm had already been done. She had chosen Vanessa over me without hesitation. I don't think we can fix this, I admitted ultimately. It's not just about what Vanessa did. It's about how easily you believed her, how little trust you had in me. That's not something we can just work through. Claire began to cry harder. I was stupid, she said between sobs. I should have talked to you. I should have trusted you. Please just give me one more chance. I shake my head. I'm sorry, Claire, but I can't. This isn't just about forgiveness. It's about trust. And once that's gone, it's almost impossible to get back. She kept crying. I almost felt sorry for her, almost. But then I remembered all the nights I'd spent alone and wondered what I could have done better. All the pals that abandoned me because they believed Vanessa's lies. All the times I questioned my own worth since Claire discarded me so readily. And with that, my sympathies vanished. I think it's best if we both move on, I remarked, standing up. I wish things could have been different, but this is where we are now. Claire did not try to stop me. She just sat there crying into her hands while I walked away. I did not glance back. For the first time in months, I felt in control of my life again. Later that night, Claire texted me a long apology and begged me to reconsider. I did not respond. There was nothing more to say. Vanessa's deceit may have been the catalyst, but Claire's lack of trust was the true reason our marriage failed. And at this point, I was not interested in attempting to restore something that was already broken beyond repair. Instead, I sent the screenshots to a few mutual pals who had ghosted me. I didn't add any comments. I simply let the texts speak for themselves. Within hours, my phone were inundated with apologies and messages of support. One acquaintance wrote, "Wow, I can't believe Vanessa would do that. I'm so sorry for doubting you. You didn't deserve this." Another person added, "Let me know if there's anything I can do." It was good to feel validated, but I was not interested in rekindling those friendships, if they were so eager to believe the worst about me. They were no longer someone I wanted in my life. I didn't bother confronting Vanessa. What's the point? She'd already proved who she was, and I wasn't about to give her the satisfaction of knowing how much harm she'd done. Even though I had cut off most of my shared friends, I began hearing stuff from them a few days later. One buddy, Hannah, called me and said, "You're not going to believe this, but Vanessa's basically been blacklisted from our group." Apparently, once word spread about what she'd done, everyone began to distance themselves from her. Sophie shared the screenshots with a few others and the story quickly spread. Vanessa attempted to defend herself, claiming that she was only concerned about Claire and that I was controlling and toxic, but no one believed her. "She's completely spiraling," Hannah exclaimed, giggling. Curious, I looked up Vanessa's profiles myself, using an incognito account, of course. Sure enough, there were numerous entries about how her phony friends had abandoned her, while she had just attempted to help. A single comment read, "So, I guess people can't handle the truth. I stood up for Claire when no one else would, and now I'm the bad guy. Pathetic." The comments were not particularly sympathetic. Most individuals called her out, stating things like, "You didn't help anyone. You ruined a marriage." This is what happens when you manipulate people. Maybe take a good hard look at yourself before blaming everyone else. It was satisfying to watch her finally receive what she deserved. Meanwhile, Claire's life wasn't looking good. She moved back in with her parents after everything went down, and from what I understood, things were tight. Her mother, who had always been skeptical of Vanessa, was outraged when she learned the truth. A common friend told me about Claire's particularly heated dispute with her mother. Apparently, her mother said, "You threw away a good man for a liar. How could you be so stupid?" She was harsh, but she wasn't completely wrong. Claire was trying to rebuild her life, but things weren't going well. Her attempts to reconnect with some of our former pals elicited mixed responses. While some people were willing to forgive her, the majority were not. They'd seen how easily she turned on me and didn't want to be in the same situation again. "She looks miserable," Hannah informed me during one of our few discussions. "Like she's trying to put on a brave face, but it's obvious she regrets everything." Several weeks later, Vanessa lost her job. Sophie, who still worked with her, texted me quickly. "Just thought you'd want to know. Vanessa got fired today." It turned out that Vanessa's reputation was catching up with her at work. People found out about what she'd done, and her coworkers began to shun her. She was always the sort to cause trouble in the office, but after this, no one wanted to deal with her. Her manager eventually discovered the tension and let her go, citing interpersonal issues as the explanation. I would like to say I felt sorry for her, but I did not. She had spent years manipulating people and wreaking havoc, and now she was finally facing the repercussions. My life continued to improve. One day, months later, I ran into Sophie at a coffee shop. We ended up speaking for a while, and she updated me on the newest gossip. "Claire reached out to Vanessa a few weeks ago," she added, rolling her eyes. "Can you believe that?" "What happened?" I inquired, really curious. "Well, Claire tried to apologize, saying she wanted to move past everything," Sophie told me. But Vanessa just laughed in her face. She told Claire she was pathetic for even trying, and that she was better off without her. I shook my head in amusement and bewilderment. Figures. "Vanessa does not know how to accept responsibility for anything." Sophie smirked. "Yeah, well, they're both getting what they deserve." Looking back, I can't say I'm glad things went the way they did, but I'm grateful for where I've ended up. Vanessa and Claire's toxic relationship was a ticking time bomb, and I happened to be collateral damage. However, they eventually destroyed each other, and I was able to go with a clean slate. It's amusing how life works sometimes. Karma does not always arrive immediately, but when it does, it hits hard. Claire and Vanessa learned the hard way, and I'm fine with it. They made their decisions, and now they are dealing with the consequences. I'm moving forward. I've created a life that brings me joy, surrounded by people who genuinely care about me. And that's the best retaliation I could have hoped to